By the early 1900s, football was exploding far beyond its British origins. Across Europe and South America, local clubs were forming, and the game was drawing thousands of deeply invested spectators. But organizing international matches revealed a massive logistical failure. Because the sport had spread so rapidly, different regions developed their own interpretations of how to play. A team traveling from France to Belgium might find their opponents playing by conflicting rules regarding tackling, handling the ball, or scoring. The English Football Association had written the original laws back in 1863. Because they invented the formalized game, they viewed themselves as the sole, unquestionable guardians of how it should be played. For the sport to survive on a global scale, it required a standardized regulatory framework. But the British held all the leverage, and they had little interest in sharing it. Enter Robert Guérin. He was a 28-year-old French journalist and sports administrator who realized that without a centralized authority, international football would collapse into endless disputes. Guérin reached out to the English FA to propose a formal European federation. The FA's president, Lord Kinnaird, flatly rejected him, stating that the British cannot see the advantages of such an alliance. The home nations were already playing packed, profitable matches against each other. They felt their domestic dominance meant they simply did not need the rest of the continent. Locked out of the established power structure, the European nations were left with one viable option. They would have to bypass the British entirely and construct a rival governing architecture from scratch. On May 21, 1904, delegates from 7 European outsider nations quietly gathered in a back office at 229 Rue Saint-Honoré in Paris. Under Guérin's direction, the representatives drafted the founding charter of the Fédération Internationale de Football Association, FIFA. The charter established a single, unified global protocol, guaranteeing one equal vote per nation. Crucially, it declared FIFA held the exclusive legal right to sanction international competitions, weaponizing paperwork into a regulatory coup to box the British out. Guérin was unanimously elected the first president. His immediate task was proving to the world that this new organization actually held the authority it claimed on paper. The early years were brutal. The British maintained their boycott, World War I halted play, and President Daniel Woelfel died. FIFA's legal framework survived the war, but it remained a largely theoretical power. It lacked a practical engine to enforce its relevance on the world stage. By 1920, the European disruptors owned the legal structure to rule the sport. Now, they desperately needed a spectacle massive enough to execute their takeover. In 1921, a French lawyer named Jules Rimet inherited the presidency and the robust legal framework Guérin had left behind. Rimet developed a strategy to scale FIFA's mandate. He launched the ultimate international asset in 1930, the FIFA World Cup. The inaugural tournaments were a massive success. Tens of thousands of fans filled stadiums, generating undeniable economic gravity and cementing FIFA's absolute authority globally. This created an economic and cultural force that the British FA could no longer ignore. To participate in the most lucrative events in the sport, the British had to finally surrender and join the organization they once snubbed. The World Cup converted FIFA's theoretical mandate into a tangible monopoly, granting the Paris Committee final oversight over the world's most profitable matches. Today, the modest 7-nation meeting from 1904 has expanded into a global entity encompassing 211 member nations. That scale generates billions of dollars in revenue, all funneled back to FIFA's centralized headquarters in Switzerland. But the extreme consolidation of power, originally designed to bypass British control, eventually bred unchecked authority. Insulated from outside oversight, the institution became the center of systemic corruption, culminating in the sweeping indictments of 2015. The 1904 rebellion succeeded in its mission to bypass British control and centralize the sport under one banner. But in building a structure designed to be unchallengeable, the founders created a machine that was eventually as corruptible as it was powerful.